Welcome back to the channel. Choosing your class is the second decision that you will make in Ashes of Creation. Because choosing your class is so important, we will be deep diving into the nitty-gritty details so that you can make the best decision when the time comes. We're constantly getting more information about the classes, so when we do, I'll be sure to put out new videos. In the beginning, there will be 8 archetypes to choose from. This first archetype you choose is permanent and cannot be changed. You can choose to be a tank, a mage, a fighter, a cleric, a rogue, a summoner, a range, or a bard. As you start leveling up, you'll be able to select and upgrade abilities in your archetype skill tree. Once you hit level 25, you will then be able to select your second archetype. It is the combination of both of these archetypes that determine your class. For example, you might select to be a ranger at level 1, but as you level to 25, you might then select to be a summoner as your second archetype. This would give you the class called Falconeer. You would still maintain your baseline as a ranger, but now your abilities will be augmented to summon falcons to help you dish out extra damage. Unlike the first archetype you choose at level 1, your second archetype is not permanent. It will take quite a bit of work to change your second archetype, setting you back a bit in player development. This makes it so that you can't just change your class on the fly. Before we look at each of the classes in detail, it is important to know that your race will influence some of your class's abilities. An elf tank will play differently than an orc tank. I made a whole video that deep dives into each of the races, and I'll link that in the description. A mastery of force and control allows tanks to achieve their primary goals, helping their team mitigate incoming damage and dictate who stands in the line of fire. As the tanks sharpen their skills and learn to steel themselves against danger, they will find their strength growing in a variety of ways. This class will also be really interesting, seeing that shields are a type of weapon in Ashes of Creation. So even though they might get tanky stats from a shield, they'll also be able to use it to dish out damage. Their first ability, Bulwark, strikes their target and increases their block chance, and generates additional threat. Their second ability, Javelin, pulls your target to your location and generates additional threat. Their ability Lacerate slashes their target, dealing instant damage and bleeds the target over time. Myrmidon strikes your target and increases your damage mitigation. Onslaught, charge your target and provides a small damage absorbing shield. Resounding Smash smashes the ground in front of you, dealing damage to all targets. Upgrading this ability increases its damage. Shockwave, stomp the ground in front of you, knocking down and dealing damage to all targets. This ability also generates additional threat. Ultimate Defense provides increasing mitigation based on missing health, up to full invulnerability. This reduces movement speed while active. Weapon Toss throws your weapon at a target, dealing damage. This ability also generates additional threat. Tanks have 8 classes to choose from. A tank can choose to be a knight, a guardian, a knight shield, a warden, a spell shield, a keeper, a paladin, or an argent. The rogue is a master of opportunity, using skill, positioning, and the environment to dish out frightening amounts of damage. In their downtime, they provide solid utility, helping their friends navigate dangers otherwise unseen. All classes are capable of adventures, but rogues excel at delving the deepest depths of the dungeons and finding the most hidden treasures. Steven Sharaf said, "If you're in a party and you have a rogue that's available, they'll be able to use that utility skill to discover these random doors that might exist in a dungeon." Now, the way we make it so that's not essentially the same door every time is these locations are randomly spawned throughout different times of day. So they'll change essentially as you go into a dungeon at different times. So it'll be important and relevant for parties to make sure that they have a diversity of archetypes available to them. And in particular for the rogue's case, because they can find those hidden type doors and they have access to different types of loot tables based off of that. The only ability that's been revealed to us that the rogues will have is their stealth ability. This does not render a player completely invisible. Instead, there will be an indicator that can help players feel out where stealthed individuals may be. Although it would be really cool, unfortunately, There's not a theft mechanic where rogues can go and steal items from other players. Rogues have 8 classes to choose from. They can be a duelist, a shadow guardian, an assassin, a predator, a night spell, a shadow lord, a cultist, or a charlatan? Or a charlatan. The fighter is an expert in physical combat, a master of many weapons. This warrior strikes fear into the heart of his foes. Stephen Sharaf said, "What we want the fighter warrior to do is to be able to cut through the enemy lines, get to the support area of the raid perhaps, and take out the healers with some quick DPS burst damage. We want them to be masters of different weapons. We want them to be able to be versatile in whether or not they want to be a ranged fighter or a melee one. It's going to be up to the player." Unfortunately, we don't know very much about the abilities that this class will have. Once again, I'll be putting out updated videos in the future once we get more information. The only ability that they've hinted about is an ability called Rush. It rushes towards the target, and upon reaching the target, deals an amount of damage with a chance to knock down the target. Fighters have 8 classes to choose from. They can choose to be a weapon master, a dreadnought, a shadow blade, a hunter, a spell sword, a blade caller, a high sword, a blade dancer. Rangers deal death from afar. A master of bow and ranged combat, the ranger is more happy to let others get their hands dirty. No one else has such a keen eye in natural environments. All characters may equip up to 2 main hand weapons and also wear a ranged weapon on their back. Characters performing ranged abilities will switch to a ranged weapon and then can switch back to a melee weapon. Rangers are going to have a minimum distance requirement where they are eligible to shoot their ranged weapons. There are currently 14 ranger abilities that have been released to the public. Bow's combo. Target an enemy and use your bow to strike with 2 arrows, dealing damage and powering up your focus with this weapon attack. Power shot. Use this skill to charge up a shot that fires forward in a line, damaging all enemies it touches. Snare. This ability pins the target to the ground. Marked arrow. Target an enemy, causing that enemy to take additional physical damage. Fleeing shot. Retreating shot that rolls backward and does damage. Sniper's eye. Summon a zone around you, and while within the zone you'll deal an additional 200% damage with all attacks. Hail of arrows. If your focus is at 80%, you can use this to summon an AoE ranged attack. Track. Use this skill to show nearby tracks leading to unknown adventures. Flame line. Shoot an arrow that leaves behind a trail of flames. Jump. This is a dash without a cooldown. Knockback. Knocks a target back a certain distance. Slice. It's a cone melee attack. You can upgrade this ability to become a 360 melee attack and to add a bleed effect. Sprint. Increases movement speed, but only until you use your next ability. Trap. Places a bear trap down that roots enemies. It also does damage. Rangers have 8 classes to choose from. They can be a Strider, Sentinel, Scout, Hawkeye, Scion, a Falconeer, a Soul Bow, or a Bow Singer. Mages cause devastation across large areas and can apply elemental energies to break through any defense. While Masters of Mass Chaos, mages are also adept at focusing on the foes at hand. As a mage's connection to the Essence and Vera develops further, their power will continue to grow, unfold, and take shape. There will be elements such as air, fire, water, and lightning in Ashes of Creation. Elements have more influence in certain seasons and climates. For example, frost abilities may be stronger in the winter. Black Hole is the first mage ability. It summons a black hole at the target location and slowly pulls in the enemy targets. Blink. Blink forward in the direction you are traveling. Drain Essence. Drains your target, converting all their health into mana for yourself. Fireball. Throws a fireball at your target and deals instant damage. Gift of Magi. Transforms some of your mana to your target ally. Lava Storm. Creates a field of lava at the target location, deals additional damage in the center of the ability, deals area damage around the caster upon the cast. Lightning Bolt. Shoot forward a beam of lightning that damages enemies in a line in front of you. Meteor Storm. summon forth a meteor storm, dropping 3 meteors in the target location. Each meteor deals large area damage upon impact. Prismatic Beam spawns a giant prismatic beam of energy that can be aimed around you, deals large damage to enemy targets, and slows their movement while being hit. Mages have 8 classes to choose from. They can be a battle mage, a spell stone, a shadow caster, a spell hunter, an arc wizard, a warlock, an acolyte, or a sorcerer. Summoners can easily shift their roles to fit all the gaps in a group's composition. The summoner is never alone. 2 hands are good, but in the summoner's opinion, 4 hands are always better. With the right tool for every job, there is no situation they can't handle. The summoner uses many abilities through their summons. Summoners can summon up to 3 different creatures. Abilities from the summon appear in the summoner's hotbar. The summoner has control over their summons. Summoners can summon tanks, DPS, or support summons. Overall, you're just gonna say summons a whole bunch while playing this class. Summons will exist until another summon is cast. There are many different summons a summoner may summon. This is all depending on the class and augment they choose. For example, they could summon animals, spirits, zombies, skeletons, or corpses. Other summoners may only be able to summon one powerful thing. Out of all the classes, this is probably the class that I'm most interested in. In other games, summoners don't really have control over their minions and they're kind of just on autopilot and do their own thing. But the idea of having to micromanage your units and having your abilities change upon which units that you summon is just really interesting to me. Summoners have 8 classes to choose from. They can be a Wild Blade, a Brood Warden, a Shadowmancer, Beastmaster, Spellmancer, a Conjurer, a Necromancer, or an Enchanter. In a world often fraught with peril, a cleric is never wanting for friends. They can protect their allies in a number of ways, and when necessary, snuff the life out of others. As masters over the very essence of vitality, they can sense the broken and corrupted. Clerics find themselves particularly attuned to the threads that channel life and motivate energy. By refining these tendrils, they can heal and even resurrect those that have been wounded. Benediction, a chain heal that heals up to 3 targets. Castigation, lashes your target with a holy energy, dealing direct damage. Damnation, curses your target, dealing holy damage over time, lowering their damage output. Devotion, a swift act that heals your target. Divine Censure, throws a radiant spear at the target, dealing damage. Exorcism, a holy power that rips at your target's spirit, channeling damage over time. Hallowed Ground, heals the surrounding area with a radiant energy, damaging enemies and healing allies. Judgment, holy power crushes your target, dealing direct damage and lowering their damage mitigation. Resurrect, allows you to resurrect a dead ally. Clerics have 8 classes to choose from. They can be a Templar, an Apostle, a Shadow Disciple, Protector, Oracle, Shaman, High Priest, or a Scryer. The Bard weaves songs of glory and conquest, inspiring his comrades to ever greater heights. Bards are intended to amplify a party's or raid's ability to perform within their own class. Bards have often been portrayed as a musical class, and while they can be that, many Bard applications may exist in just telling a story. But you're not going to see the Bard as a buff bot. The Bard is going to be a very active and positional role. Bards have engaging combat abilities, not just buffs. Bards have a wide range of abilities to choose from, such as wordsmithing, acting, and musical aspects. Bards have 8 classes to choose from. They can be a Tellsword, a Siren, a Trickster, a Song Warden, Magician, Song Caller, Soul Weaver, or a Minstrel. If you like this video, come hang out with us on Discord. I also heard from a little bird that subscribing is free, so maybe consider that. And as always, break a leg.